Her millionaire CEO husband flew his side chick to Miami to give birth and told his housemaid to keep it a secret. Before I meet my maker, I need to tell you the truth about what your husband did, about the child. What child? What are you talking about? The child he had with that woman, the one he flew to Miami to have the baby in secret, the one he has been raising as his nephew for 7 years. I kept this secret because he paid me, but I cannot die with this on my soul. The phone call came at 2:47 in the morning. Vivienne Marquez stood frozen in the fitting room of her Manhattan atelier, surrounded by bolts of silk and half-finished gowns destined for Fashion Week. At 35, she was one of the most sought-after fashion designers in the country. Her label Marquez had dressed celebrities from the Met Gala to Cannes. Magazine covers called her a visionary. Industry insiders called her untouchable. But in that moment, with her phone pressed against her ear and Rosa Delgado's dying voice crackling through the speaker, Vivienne felt like the broken 27-year-old woman she had been 8 years ago. The woman who had signed divorce papers while her husband celebrated with his pregnant mistress across town. Rosa, slow down. What child? Whose child? Your husband's child. The baby he made with that young woman from his office, Natasha. He flew her to Miami when she was 7 months pregnant. Set her up in a private clinic where no one would ask questions. She had the baby there, a boy. And Dominic told everyone the child was his nephew, his brother's son. But his brother never had a son, Mrs. Ashford. The whole thing was a lie. Vivienne's legs gave out. She sank onto a velvet ottoman, her designer heels scraping against the hardwood floor. You knew about this. For 7 years, you knew. I am sorry. I am so sorry. He paid me to keep quiet. He said he would pay off my son's medical school loans. He said if I told you, he would have me deported. I was afraid. I was selfish. And I have carried this guilt every single day since. Why are you telling me now? Because I am dying. Pancreatic cancer. The doctors say I have weeks, maybe less. And I cannot stand before God with this secret still inside me. You deserved the truth 8 years ago. I could not give it to you then, but I can give it to you now. Have you ever received a phone call that shattered everything you thought you knew about your life? Have you ever discovered that the person who told you that you were broken, that you were defective, that you were not enough, was lying to you the entire time? What would you do if you found out your husband had a secret child? A child he conceived while telling you that you were the problem? A child he hid while you cried yourself to sleep every night wondering why your body would not cooperate? This is the story of a woman who was thrown away like damaged goods. A woman who was told she was barren and worthless. A woman who watched her husband walk out of their marriage and into the arms of someone younger. Someone more fertile. Someone who could give him what he claimed she never could. But here is what that man did not know. The woman he discarded did not break. She rebuilt herself into something extraordinary. She became more successful than he ever was. And 8 years later, she discovered that everything he told her, every cruel word, every devastating accusation, was built on a foundation of lies. Stay with me to discover what happens when a woman confronts the ultimate betrayal and transforms it into the ultimate comeback. If you believe in the power of rising from the ashes, if you have ever been underestimated by someone who should have loved you, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell right now. Because what happens next will show you exactly why the people who doubt you always end up regretting it. Let me take you back 8 years. Back to when Vivienne was not Vivienne Marquez, celebrated designer. Back when she was Vivienne Ashford, trophy wife of one of the most powerful CEOs on the East Coast. The Ashford estate sat on 12 acres overlooking Long Island Sound, 12,000 square feet of Georgian elegance with marble floors imported from Italy, chandeliers that cost more than most people's houses, and a silence so heavy it felt like living inside a museum. Vivienne had loved it once. She had loved the way morning light streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows in the breakfast room. She had loved the rose garden where she would sit and sketch dress designs while Dominic worked in his study. She had loved the master bedroom with its fireplace and its view of the water, and its king-size bed where she had once believed she would raise a family. That was before the fertility treatment started. That was before the negative pregnancy tests piled up like accusations. That was before her husband's eyes grew cold every time she walked into a room. Dominic Ashford was the kind of man who commanded attention without asking for it. At 38, he was devastatingly handsome. Dark hair silvered at the temples, jaw that could cut glass, eyes the color of expensive whiskey. He ran Ashford Pharmaceuticals with the precision of a surgeon and the ruthlessness of a shark. When Vivian met him at a charity gala 5 years earlier, she thought she had found her soulmate. He was charming, attentive. He sent her flowers every week for 6 months before she agreed to marry him. He wrote her poetry. He promised her the world. "I will love you forever," he had said on their wedding day. In sickness and in health, no matter what challenges we face, we will face them together. She believed him. She believed him through the first year of trying to get pregnant, when every negative test felt like a small disappointment but not yet a disaster. She believed him through the second year, when the fertility specialist started running tests and using words like unexplained infertility and diminished ovarian reserve. She believed him through the third year, when the IVF cycles began, the hormone injections, the egg retrievals, the embryo transfers that ended in bleeding and crying and starting all over again. 3 rounds of IVF, 15 negative pregnancy tests, and somewhere along the way, the man who had promised to love her forever stopped looking at her like a wife and started looking at her like a problem to be solved. "Dominic, can we talk?" It was a Thursday evening, October. The leaves outside their bedroom window had turned the color of fire and rust. Vivian sat on the edge of their bed, holding another negative pregnancy test in her hands. The 15th one. She had stopped crying at this point. The tears had dried up somewhere around test number 12. Dominic stood in the doorway of his home office, his 6'2" frame imposing in his perfectly tailored Armani suit. He did not come closer. He did not sit beside her. He did not take her hand. "The doctor said we should give it more time," Vivian said quietly. "My hormone levels are improving. With the new fertility treatments, there is still hope." "Hope." Dominic said the word like it was something distasteful, something beneath him. "It has been 3 years, Vivian. 3 years of treatments, specialists, procedures. Do you have any idea how much money we have spent trying to fix this?" Fix this. Like she was a broken appliance, a car that would not start, a problem with his investment portfolio. The doctor said the new protocol has a higher success rate. If we just give it 6 more months. 6 more months. Dominic laughed, but there was no warmth in it. And then what? Another 6 months after that? And another after that? At what point do we accept that maybe some things are not meant to be? Vivian looked up at her husband, really looked at him, and what she saw made her blood run cold. His eyes were flat, calculating, like he was sitting across from a business adversary instead of his wife of 3 years. "What are you saying?" "I am saying that maybe we need to have an honest conversation about our future." "Our future?" Vivian's voice cracked. "What does that mean?" "It means that my family has expectations. My father built this company with the understanding that there would be heirs. I am the last Ashford. The name ends with me unless I have children. Do you understand what that means? I understand that we have been trying, that I have been trying, that I have put my body through hell for the past 3 years because I want this too. Do you? Or do you just want to keep playing house while my legacy dies with me?" The cruelty of the question stole her breath. "How can you ask me that? I want a family more than anything in the world. I want your children. I have never wanted anything more. Then why is your body failing us?" The words hung in the air like a blade. Vivian felt something crack inside her chest. Not break, not shatter, just crack. A fracture that would widen over the coming weeks until it split her entire world in two. "My body is not failing us, Dominic. We are dealing with a medical condition. It happens to millions of couples." The doctors said a lot of things. None of them have worked. Dominic walked to his bar cart and poured himself a scotch. His hands were steady. His voice was even, like he was delivering quarterly earnings results instead of dismantling his marriage. "My grandmother was right. I should have married someone from our circle, someone with a proven family line." Vivian felt ice spread through her veins. "Your grandmother has hated me from day one because I am not from old money. Because my father was a mechanic and my mother was a teacher. Because I did not go to the right schools or vacation at the right resorts. She was not wrong though, was she?" Dominic took a long sip of his drink. "You cannot do the one job that matters. The one job that matters." Vivian stood up slowly. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was steady. "I am not a broodmare, Dominic. I am your wife. You were supposed to be both. The words hit her like a physical blow. She staggered back, catching herself on the bedpost. "What did you just say to me?" I said what needed to be said. Dominic set down his glass and straightened his tie. A gesture Vivian had learned meant he was about to say something that would hurt her, something he had been planning to say for a while. Veronica Patterson is engaged to Charles Rothschild. They are already planning their first child. Jennifer Ashworth just gave birth to twins. Even Patricia Melbourne, who is barely 25, is pregnant with her second. Each name felt like a knife between her ribs. These were the women Dominic's family had wanted him to marry. The society princesses who came with the right pedigree, the right bloodlines, the right connections, and apparently the right reproductive systems. "So that is it," Vivian said. 3 years of marriage reduced to my failure to get pregnant. "It is not personal, Vivian. It is practical." "Not personal?" Her voice rose for the first time. "You are talking about ending our marriage because I cannot have children, and you are telling me it is not personal?" Dominic looked at her with something that might have been pity, or maybe it was just impatience. "You are a beautiful, intelligent woman. You will find someone who does not need what I need, someone who can love you as you are. And what am I, Dominic? In your expert opinion, what exactly am I?" He finished his scotch before answering. "Defective." The word landed like a bomb. "You are barren, Vivian, and I cannot spend the rest of my life married to someone who cannot give me children." She stared at him. This man she had loved. This man who had written her poetry and sent her flowers and promised her forever. He had just reduced her entire existence to her biological functions. "Get out." Her voice was barely a whisper. "Vivian, get out of this room. Get out of my sight. And do not you dare try to touch me or comfort me, or pretend you have any decency left." Dominic set down his empty glass and straightened his cufflinks. "I will have my lawyer contact yours tomorrow. I will be generous in the settlement. I do not want your money. You will take it. You will need it to start over." His tone was matter of fact, like they were discussing a business transaction, like they were negotiating the terms of a contract instead of the end of a marriage. And then he said the words that shattered whatever was left of her heart. "I have already spoken to Patricia Melbourne. We will be announcing our engagement next month." The room tilted. Vivian grabbed the bedpost to keep from falling. "You have already chosen my replacement. I have chosen someone who can give me what I need. Someone who can breed for you." "You mean?" Dominic's jaw tightened, but he did not deny it. "Patricia is 26, from a good family. Her mother had 5 children with no complications. You have researched her fertility like you were buying livestock. I have done my due diligence, something I should have done before I married you." The last piece of Vivian's heart crumbled to dust. "I loved you. I loved you more than anything in this world. Love is not enough anymore. It was never enough for you, was it?" Dominic moved toward the door. Then he paused, turned back, and said the words that would haunt her for years. "You are a good woman, Vivian. You deserve someone who can appreciate what you have to offer." "And what do I have to offer?" "In your expert opinion, beauty, intelligence, kindness, just not fertility." Then he walked out. His footsteps echoed on the marble floors. 20 minutes later, she heard his car start and drive away. She would later learn that he drove straight to Patricia Melbourne's apartment, where he spent the night celebrating their future together, while Vivian sat alone in their bedroom, surrounded by negative pregnancy tests and shattered dreams. Have you ever been told that everything you are is not enough? Have you ever had someone you loved look at you like you were broken? Like you were less than human? Like your only value was what you could produce? If you have, then you know exactly what Vivian was feeling in that moment. And if you have not, count yourself blessed, because that kind of pain leaves scars that never fully heal. But here is what Dominic Ashford did not understand. He had just made the biggest mistake of his life. 3 weeks later, Vivian signed the divorce papers in a lawyer's office downtown. Her signature was shaky, her eyes were swollen from weeks of crying, and her heart felt like it had been put through a meat grinder. Dominic had not even bothered to attend the meeting. He sent his attorney instead, a slick man in a designer suit who handled the dissolution of their marriage like it was just another item on his to-do list. "Here are the terms Mr. Ashford is offering. $2 million in cash, the apartment in Tribeca, health insurance for 2 years, and a confidentiality agreement preventing you from discussing the details of your marriage with the press." Vivian stared at the documents spread across the conference table. He wants me to sign away my right to speak. He wants to protect his reputation. Surely you can understand that. His reputation. She almost laughed. His reputation was the only thing Dominic had ever truly loved. Not her. Never her. Just the image he projected to the world. Fine. I will sign. She did not care about the money. She did not care about the apartment. She just wanted to be done, to close this chapter and somehow figure out how to start again. But fate had other plans. 1 week after the divorce was finalized, Vivian found herself hunched over the toilet in her tiny new apartment, vomiting for the 3rd morning in a row. At first she thought it was stress, the divorce, the upheaval, the trauma of having her entire life dismantled in a matter of weeks. But then she missed her period, and then she missed it again. And then she found herself standing in a pharmacy bathroom staring at a positive pregnancy test with a mixture of joy and terror that made her knees buckle. She was pregnant. After 3 years of trying, after countless treatments, after being told she was barren and defective and unable to produce the children her husband so desperately wanted, she was carrying his child. Not 1 child, 3. The ultrasound 2 weeks later revealed triplets. 3 heartbeats. 3 tiny forms floating in the darkness of her womb. 3 miracles that had somehow taken root in the body her husband had called broken. Vivian sat in the OBGYN's office and sobbed. The doctor handed her tissues and made reassuring sounds. "Triplets are high risk," she said gently. "You will need specialized care. But your hormone levels are strong. The babies are developing normally. There is every reason to be optimistic." Optimistic. Vivian laughed through her tears. She was pregnant with her ex-husband's children, the man who had divorced her for being barren, the man who was already planning his wedding to Patricia Melbourne, the man who had called her defective and thrown her away like damaged goods. "Are you going to contact the father?" the doctor asked carefully. Vivian thought about it, really thought about it. She imagined calling Dominic, telling him the news, watching his face as he realized that everything he had said to her, every cruel word, every devastating accusation had been wrong. And then she imagined what would happen next. He would want the children, not because he loved her, not because he wanted to be a family, but because they were heirs, Ashford heirs, the legacy he had been so desperate to secure. He would fight her for custody. He would use his money and his lawyers and his connections to take them from her, and she would spend the rest of her life watching her children be raised by the man who had destroyed her and the woman he had replaced her with. No, she said the word out loud. No, I am not going to tell him. He made his choice. He does not get to unmake it now. Are you sure? The doctor's voice was gentle but concerned. He has legal rights as the biological father. He has the rights he chose to keep, and he chose to leave me, to call me barren, to marry someone else because I could not give him children. He does not get to swoop back in now that I have given him exactly what he wanted. Vivian's hand moved to her stomach, to the 3 lives growing inside her. These are my children, and I am going to raise them alone. But she was not truly alone. Rosa Delgado came to her 3 weeks later. "Mrs. Ashford, I am sorry. I mean, Miss Marquez, I do not know what to call you now." Vivian opened the door of her Tribeca apartment and stared at the woman who had worked in the Ashford household for 7 years. Rosa looked nervous, guilty, like she had not slept in weeks. "What are you doing here, Rosa? I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you months ago, but I was afraid and selfish, and I am so sorry. Come in." Rosa sat on the edge of Vivian's second-hand sofa, her weathered hands twisting in her lap. "There is a woman at the house. She has been coming for months, since before the divorce, since before any of it." Vivian felt the floor tilt beneath her feet. "Who is she?" "Her name is Natasha Petrov. She works at Mr. Ashford's company. Marketing, I think. She is young, beautiful, and she is." Rosa stopped, swallowed hard. "She is what?" "She is pregnant, Mrs. Ashford. Very pregnant. Mr. Ashford is taking her to Miami next week. A private clinic there. He is going to have the baby in secret. Hide it from everyone. From the press, from his family, from you." The words did not make sense. Or maybe they made too much sense. Natasha Petrov. Vivian remembered the name now. a pretty blonde who had been at the company Christmas party 2 years ago, young, ambitious, the kind of woman who laughed at all of Dominic's jokes and touched his arm when she talked to him. How long? Vivian heard herself ask. How long has this been going on? Months, maybe a year. I am not sure exactly when it started, but I know she's almost 7 months pregnant now. And I heard Mr. Ashford on the phone last week, making arrangements for the clinic. For after the baby is born, he is going to claim the child is his nephew, say his brother had a baby with some woman who died. But his brother does not have any children, Mrs. Ashford. I know because I have worked for this family for 15 years. The whole thing is a lie. Vivian sat down heavily on the nearest chair. Her mind was racing, calculating, putting together pieces of a puzzle she had not even known existed. Dominic had been having an affair for months, maybe a year, while they were doing IVF, while she was injecting herself with hormones and crying over negative pregnancy tests, while he was telling her she was the problem, that her body was broken, that she could not give him what he needed. He was already getting what he needed from someone else. He told me I was barren, Vivian said slowly. He told me I was defective, that I could not give him children. And the whole time he was making a baby with another woman. Rosa was crying now. I am so sorry. He offered me money to keep quiet. He said he would pay off my son's medical school loans. He said if I told anyone, he would have me deported. I was afraid. I have family depending on me. But I cannot do this anymore. I cannot look at myself in the mirror. Vivian was quiet for a long moment. Then she stood up. Thank you for telling me, Rosa. What are you going to do? Vivian looked at the woman who had risked everything to tell her the truth, and she made a decision that would change both of their lives. I need you to do something for me. I need you to go back to work. Pretend nothing has changed. Keep taking his money. Let him think his secret is safe. But why? Because I am not ready to make my move yet. And when I am, I want him to never see it coming. Rosa stared at her with something like awe. You are not going to fall apart. You are going to fight back. Vivian's hand moved to her stomach, to the 3 children Dominic did not know existed. He called me defective, Rosa. He threw me away because he thought I could not give him what he wanted. And the whole time, he was lying to me, betraying me, making a fool of me. So, yes, I am going to fight back. And when I am done, he is going to wish he had never spoken my name. Now here is where this story takes a turn that nobody expected. Not Dominic, not Rosa, not even Vivian herself. For 6 months, Vivian played the long game. She hired forensic accountants, discreetly, carefully, paying them with what little money she had left from the divorce settlement. And she told them to dig, to find every hidden account, every suspicious transaction, every secret Dominic Ashford thought was buried too deep to find. What they discovered was enough to destroy him. Offshore accounts in the Caymans, shell companies funneling money from clinical trials, falsified data on drug safety tests, kickbacks from pharmaceutical distributors, a web of fraud and corruption that stretched back nearly a decade. Dominic Ashford was not just a cheating husband. He was a criminal. And Vivian had the receipts. She waited until she was 8 months pregnant, until her belly was round with 3 babies and her body was exhausted from carrying the weight of new life, until Dominic had announced his engagement to Patricia Melbourne and the society pages were full of photos of the happy couple. Then she struck. The divorce papers were refiled on a Tuesday, not for adultery, not for emotional cruelty, for fraud. Vivian's lawyers presented evidence of Dominic's hidden assets, money that should have been disclosed during the original divorce proceedings, money that meant the settlement she had signed was based on lies. At the same time, a carefully documented report was delivered to the Securities and Exchange Commission. Dominic found out about both on the same day. You vindictive witch. He was standing in his lawyer's conference room, surrounded by his team of attorneys, his face mottled with rage. Vivian sat across from him, calm and composed despite her massive belly, looking nothing like the broken woman he had thrown away 6 months earlier. You are going to destroy me. No, Dominic. You destroyed yourself. I am just making sure the world sees who you really are. This is revenge. Pure and simple. Because I left you for someone who could actually give me children. Vivian smiled. A cold, precise expression that showed none of the devastation she had felt for months. Is that what you think this is about? Your affair? I know that is what this is about. You are jealous, bitter, unable to accept that I found someone better. Someone better. Vivian leaned forward, and for the first time, her voice showed an edge of steel. Let me tell you what this is about, Dominic. This is about the fact that while you were telling me I was defective, while you were making me feel worthless, for not being able to give you children, you were already creating a child with someone else. This is about the fact that you flew your mistress to Miami, set her up in a private clinic, and had a son born 4 months ago that you have been hiding from the world. Dominic's face went white. How did you? I know everything. The secret bank accounts, the shell companies, the way you have been siphoning money from your own pharmaceutical trials. Did you think Rosa was the only person in that house with eyes? Did you think your driver, your assistant, your golf buddies would not eventually talk if the price was right? You had me investigated. I had you exposed. There is a difference. Dominic's lawyers were shuffling papers nervously. The lead attorney, a distinguished man in his 60s, leaned over to whisper something in his client's ear. Dominic shook him off. You will never get away with this. I will fight you in court. I will drag your name through the mud. Go ahead. I have nothing left to lose. But you have everything to lose. Your company, your reputation, your precious Ashford legacy. She stood up, one hand supporting her belly. The SEC is going to be very interested in those falsified drug trial results. And when the FDA gets involved, when they start investigating whether you knowingly put unsafe medications on the market, you cannot prove any of that. I do not have to prove it, Dominic. I just have to raise enough questions that your investors lose confidence, that your board starts asking uncomfortable questions, that the press starts digging into the perfect life of Dominic Ashford. And then she delivered the final blow. By the way, Patricia Melbourne called off the engagement this morning. Apparently, she does not want to be associated with a potential federal investigation. Something about protecting her family's reputation. The look on his face was almost worth everything he had put her through. Almost, because no amount of revenge could undo the cruelty, the betrayal, the way he had made her feel like she was nothing more than a broken incubator. But it was a start. The settlement was brutal. For Dominic, Vivian walked away with enough money to start her own company, along with evidence. That kept Dominic from ever being able to claim she had somehow wronged him. The SEC investigation led to fraud charges. He plea bargained his way down to probation and a $7 million fine, but his reputation was shattered. The society that had once embraced him turned their backs. His father disowned him before dying of a heart attack 6 months later. His brother cut off all contact. The friends who had once filled his mansion for elaborate parties suddenly found themselves too busy to return his calls. As for Patricia Melbourne, she never actually married him. She disappeared from his life the moment the money and prestige dried up. The engagement that Dominic had been so eager to announce was quietly erased from society pages and dinner party conversations. The last thing Dominic said to Vivian, as they left the courthouse on the final day of the settlement proceedings, was this: I will never forgive you for this. Vivian looked at the man who had once been her everything, the man who had called her barren and defective, the man who had thrown her away while secretly fathering a child with another woman. Good, she replied, because I will never forget what you did, and I will spend every day of the rest of my life proving that I was worth more than you ever understood. Then she walked away. 3 weeks later, she gave birth to triplets, 2 boys and a girl, Lily, James, and Noah, born 6 weeks premature, but healthy, fighting, strong, just like their mother. If this story is making you feel something, if you are rooting for Vivian and wanting to see what happens next, hit that like button right now and drop a comment telling me what you think. Was she right to keep the children from Dominic? Or should she have told him the truth? Because here is the thing. This story is not over, not by a long shot. Stay with me to discover what happens when Vivian builds an empire from the ashes of her marriage, when Dominic's world crumbles around him, and when a dying woman's confession brings these 2 people back together in a way neither of them could have predicted. The next part of this story will shock you. After the divorce was finalized and the triplets were born, Vivian disappeared from Dominic's world entirely. She moved to a small apartment in Brooklyn. She sold the Tribeca place that had been part of the settlement and used the money to pay for childcare while she went back to school. Not just any school. Fashion design at Parsons. It was insane. Everyone told her so. Her mother flew in from Chicago, took one look at the 3 infants in the stack of textbooks, and said the same thing Vivian had heard 100 times. You cannot do this. You are one person. You have 3 babies. You need to focus on survival, not on some pipe dream about becoming a designer. But Vivian had stopped listening to what she could not do. She had spent 3 years being told her body could not produce children, and then she had produced 3. She had spent 6 months being told she could not fight back against one of the most powerful men in the city, and then she had brought him to his knees. She could do this. She would do this. It nearly killed her. There were nights when she slept for 2 hours between feedings, mornings when she attended classes with spit up on her shoulder because she did not have time to change, semesters when she considered dropping out because the exhaustion was so overwhelming she could barely see straight. Her mother moved from Chicago to help, sacrificed her own retirement to care for her grandchildren while Vivian studied for her exams. There were part-time jobs between classes, research projects for extra money, nights when she cried herself to sleep because she could not afford diapers and had to choose between formula and textbooks. But she never stopped. Not once. Because every time she thought about quitting, she thought about Dominic's face when he had called her defective. Every time she felt like giving up, she remembered the way he had looked at her like she was less than human. And she kept going. She graduated with honors, top of her class, and her final project, a collection inspired by women who had been underestimated and risen above, caught the attention of a prominent fashion house. They offered her a junior designer position. She said no. She was going to build her own label. Marquez launched 2 years later. A small collection funded by every penny Vivian had saved. 12 pieces designed to make women feel powerful, sensual, and unapologetically themselves. The fashion press ignored her at first. She was nobody. A single mother with no connections, no pedigree, no rich husband backing her up. But the women who wore her designs did not ignore her. They told their friends, posted on social media, wore her pieces to parties and events where people asked, "Where did you get that dress?" A minor celebrity wore a Marquez gown to a film premiere. Then a major celebrity wore one to the Golden Globes. Then Vogue called. By the time Vivian was 35, Marquez had dressed some of the most famous women in the world. Her designs had walked red carpets from Cannes to the Met Gala. Her face had appeared on magazine covers alongside words like visionary and revolutionary and unstoppable. She had built an empire from nothing while raising 3 children alone, while healing from the worst betrayal of her life. The woman Dominic Ashford had called barren and defective had become one of the most successful fashion designers in the country. And what had become of Dominic during these 8 years? Let me tell you about the fall of the man who thought he had everything. After the SEC investigation and the fraud charges, Dominic Ashford's world collapsed piece by piece. The board of directors removed him as CEO, forced him out of the company his great-grandfather had built. They cited loss of confidence and reputational damage and gave him a settlement. That was a fraction of what he was worth before the scandal. His father, who had always demanded perfection and punished failure, died without speaking to him again. The heart attack came 6 months after the charges were announced. Some said it was the stress of watching his legacy destroyed. Others said it was karma. His brother Michael, who had always lived in Dominic's shadow, finally had enough. He moved to Portugal with his longtime boyfriend and stopped returning calls. The fabricated nephew story, the one Dominic had used to explain Julian's existence, became impossible to maintain when Michael publicly stated that he had no children and never would. The society friends who had once crowded his parties and laughed at his jokes vanished like morning fog. They did not return calls. They did not answer emails. They conveniently forgot to include him on invitation lists. Patricia Melbourne, the woman Dominic had thrown Vivian away for, never actually married him. She stayed long enough to get pregnant, long enough to secure child support payments that would keep her comfortable for years. But when the money and prestige dried up, she found reasons to delay the wedding, then postpone it, then cancel it entirely. She married a hedge fund manager 2 years later, someone richer, someone more stable, someone whose reputation had not been destroyed by fraud charges and SEC investigations. As for Natasha Petrov, the young marketing associate who had been so eager to give Dominic the heir he wanted, she died in a car accident when Julian was 2 years old. A rainy night, a slick highway, a driver who ran a red light. Dominic got the call while he was in a meeting with bankruptcy attorneys. He left immediately, drove to the hospital in Connecticut where they had taken her, but she was already gone by the time he arrived. And suddenly, the child he had created through betrayal was entirely his responsibility. Julian Ashford, a toddler with his mother's ice blue eyes and his father's dark hair. A little boy who would grow up never knowing the woman who had carried him, who would learn the meaning of loss before he could properly form sentences. Dominic was not prepared to be a father. He had wanted heirs, legacies, children who would carry on the Ashford name, but he had never thought about the actual work of raising a child. The midnight feedings, the tantrums, the endless questions about why. He hired nannies, a rotating cast of professionals who came and went as Julian grew from toddler to child. He provided material comfort, the best schools, designer clothes, expensive toys, but he did not know how to love his son. Not really. He did not know how to sit with Julian during thunderstorms when the little boy was scared of lightning. He did not know how to explain why mommy was not coming back. He did not know how to be present instead of productive. By the time Julian was 7, he was a quiet, withdrawn child who rarely smiled, who watched his father with wary eyes, who had learned that disappointment was just another part of life. And Dominic had become a shadow of the man he used to be. He worked as a consultant now, small firms that could not afford anyone better, companies that did not care about his reputation as long as he delivered results. He made a comfortable living, but nothing like the fortune he had once commanded. He drank too much, aged too quickly, spent too many nights staring at the ceiling, wondering how everything had gone so wrong. The mansion in Connecticut was long gone, sold to pay legal fees and fines. He lived in a modest apartment in Manhattan now. Nice enough, but nothing like the 12,000 square feet of Georgian elegance he had once called home. And every time he looked at his son, he saw the mistakes he had made, the choices he could not take back, the woman he had thrown away who had somehow become more successful than he had ever been. He had heard about Marquez, of course. Everyone had. He had seen Vivian's face on magazine covers, had watched her designs walk red carpets on television, had read articles about the visionary designer who had risen from nothing to become one of the most sought-after names in fashion. The woman he had called defective had become extraordinary, and he had become nothing at all. That is where this story takes its most unexpected turn. Because 8 years after the divorce, a dying woman would make a phone call, and the lives of Vivian Marquez, Dominic Ashford, and an innocent little boy named Julian would collide in ways none of them could have predicted. Rosa Delgado was 67 when the doctors told her about the cancer. Pancreatic, stage 4, 3 months at most. She had lived a good life, raised 2 children who had become successful professionals, helped her grandchildren with homework, and taught them how to make her mother's tamales. Found peace in small things: morning coffee, Sunday mass, the satisfaction of a clean house and a job well done. But there was one thing she could not find peace with: the secret. For 7 years, she had carried the truth about Julian Ashford inside her like a stone. Every time she went to confession, she mentioned other sins, small ones, white lies, moments of impatience, but she never spoke about the child, never told the priest about the pregnant mistress or the Miami clinic, or the elaborate deception that had destroyed a young woman's marriage. She had tried to convince herself it was not her sin to confess, that she had done what she needed to survive, that Dominic Ashford was the guilty one, not her. But as the cancer spread and her body weakened, Rosa found that she could not lie to herself anymore. She had known the truth. She had kept it secret. And somewhere out there, a woman was living with a wound that might never fully heal because Rosa had chosen money over morality. The phone call to Vivian came at 2:47 in the morning, not because Rosa was dramatic, but because that was when the pain woke her, when the morphine wore off and the cancer reminded her that death was coming whether she was ready or not. She dialed the number she had memorized years ago, the number she had never had the courage to use until now. And when Vivian answered, Rosa told her everything. Now you are caught up to where this story began, a dying woman's confession, a successful designer's world turned upside down, and a little boy named Julian who was about to become the bridge between 2 people who had once destroyed each other. But here is the question that kept Vivian awake for days after that phone call. What do you do when the person who hurt you most is struggling? What do you do when the evidence of their betrayal is an innocent child who has done nothing wrong? Do you walk away and protect yourself? Or do you reach out and risk everything you have built? That is exactly where we will pick up in the second half of this story. We are just getting started. I want you to hit the subscribe button and notification bell because what happens next is going to challenge everything you think you know about revenge, forgiveness, and what it really means to rise above. This is a story about a woman who was thrown away, who was called defective, who was replaced and discarded and treated like she was nothing. But it is also a story about what happens when that woman has to decide whether to extend grace to the very people who destroyed her. The choice she makes will surprise you. Trust me. 3 days after Rosa's phone call, Vivian stood in the doorway of a hospital room in Queens. The woman in the bed looked nothing like the Rosa she remembered. 8 years ago, Rosa Delgado had been sturdy and strong, with capable hands and a quiet dignity that commanded respect. Now she was frail, diminished. Her skin had taken on the grayish pallor of someone whose body was shutting down piece by piece. But her eyes were still sharp, still filled with the guilt that had driven her to make that 2:47 a.m. confession. "You came," Rosa whispered. "I was not sure you would." Vivian moved into the room slowly. She had rehearsed what she would say during the entire drive from Manhattan, practiced the questions she needed answered, prepared herself for the emotions that would inevitably surface. But now that she was here, looking at this dying woman who had kept the truth from her for so long, all her rehearsed words evaporated. She pulled a chair next to the bed and sat down. "Tell me everything, from the beginning." Rosa closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, they were wet with tears. "It started about a year before your divorce, maybe longer. I did not know at first. Mr. Ashford was careful. But then she started coming to the house when you were at your charity meetings or visiting your mother. Natasha, the young one from his office. How often? Once a week at first, then twice. Then she was there almost every time you were gone. They would go to his study, lock the door. I would hear them sometimes, laughing, talking, other sounds I tried not to hear." Vivian's hands tightened in her lap, but her voice remained steady. "When did you find out she was pregnant?" "About 6 months before your divorce. I was cleaning the guest bathroom and I found a pregnancy test in the trash. Positive. I knew it was not yours because you had told me about the fertility treatments, about how nothing was working. And then a few days later, I heard Mr. Ashford on the phone, making arrangements, talking about a clinic in Miami, a private facility where no one asks questions. And he asked you to keep quiet. He called me into his study one evening, sat me down like we were having a business meeting. He said he knew I was loyal, that I had worked for his family for 15 years. And then he offered me money. A lot of money, enough to pay off my son's medical school loans, enough to secure my family's future." Rosa's voice cracked. "He also reminded me that my visa status was complicated, that if I caused problems for him, he could cause problems for me. He never said the words directly. He did not have to. I understood what he meant. So you took the money and kept quiet while he called me barren, while he told me I was defective, while he divorced me for not being able to give him children." Yes, the single word hung in the air between them. Vivian felt the old anger rising, the familiar burn of betrayal that she had worked so hard to extinguish over the past 8 years. But looking at this dying woman, this woman who was clearly tormented by what she had done, Vivian found that the anger had lost some of its heat. "What else do you know about the child?" "His name is Julian. He is 7 years old now, smart, quiet, a little sad, I think. After Natasha died, Mr. Ashford became his only parent. He claimed the boy was his nephew, said his brother Michael had a baby with some woman who passed away, and he was taking the child in out of family obligation. But that was a lie. Everything about it was a lie. Michael Ashford never had children. He is living in Portugal now with his partner. The nephew story was just another layer of deception to protect Mr. Ashford's reputation." Vivian processed this information slowly. A child. An innocent little boy who had lost his mother and was being raised by a man who had never truly learned how to love. "Why are you telling me all of this now, Rosa? Beyond the guilt, beyond wanting to clear your conscience before you die, what do you want me to do with this information?" Rosa reached out and grasped Vivian's hand with surprising strength. "I want you to know the truth, the whole truth, because you deserved it 8 years ago and I was too afraid to give it to you. But there is something else." "What?" "The boy. Julian. He is innocent in all of this. He did not ask to be born into a lie. He did not ask to lose his mother or to have a father who does not know how to be present. I have watched him from a distance over the years. seen him at events, heard stories from people who still work for Mr. Ashford. And what have you heard? That he is lonely, so lonely, that he has everything money can buy but nothing that actually matters, that he watches other children with their families and does not understand why his life feels so empty. Rosa's grip tightened. I know I have no right to ask you anything. I kept his secret. I took his money. I watched you suffer and said nothing. But before I die, I need to ask you one thing. What is it? Do not let that boy become a casualty of his father's sins. He is just a child. He needs someone who will see him, really see him. Someone who knows what it is like to be underestimated and overlooked and treated like you do not matter. Vivian stared at this dying woman who was asking the impossible. You want me to help the child my husband created by betraying me, the evidence of the affair that destroyed my marriage. I want you to consider that sometimes the innocent get caught in the crossfire of other people's wars. And sometimes the people who have suffered the most are the only ones who can truly understand that kind of pain. Rosa's eyes were closing. The morphine was pulling her back under. I am sorry, she whispered, for everything. I hope you can forgive me someday, and I hope you can find a way to help that little boy. Within 2 weeks, Rosa Delgado was dead. Vivian attended the funeral, stood in the back of the small church while Rosa's children and grandchildren wept and spoke about a woman who had been devoted and loving and had always put her family first. They did not know about the secret Rosa had carried. They did not know about the confession she had made in her final days, and Vivian did not tell them. Some truths belong only to the people directly affected by them. This truth belonged to Vivian, and to Dominic, and to an innocent little boy named Julian, who had no idea that his entire existence was built on a foundation of lies. For weeks after the funeral, Vivian tried to put Rosa's words out of her mind. She had her own life, her own children, her own empire to run. She had worked too hard and sacrificed too much to get entangled in Dominic Ashford's mess again. But the image of that lonely little boy would not leave her alone. She found herself researching Julian online, looking for photos, news, mentions, any scrap of information about the child who shared DNA with her own children but lived in an entirely different world. What she found broke her heart. There were society photos from various events, a charity gala here, a corporate function there. In every picture, Julian stood apart from the crowd. His posture was stiff. His smile was forced. His eyes held the kind of wariness that children should not have to develop so young. He looked like a little boy who had learned not to expect too much from life. In one photo, he stood next to Dominic at a museum opening, father and son in matching suits, but there was a distance between them that the camera captured even if the photographer had not intended to. They were not touching, not looking at each other, just existing in the same space without any real connection. Vivian knew that distance. She had felt it herself during the final years of her marriage. The slow erosion of intimacy, the growing chasm between two people who shared a home but no longer shared their hearts. And then came the invitation, the Whitney Museum Charity Gala, one of the biggest events of the fall social season. Vivian had been invited as a primary sponsor, her fashion house having donated a significant amount to the museum's education programs. She almost declined. These events were exhausting. Endless small talk with people who wanted something from her, photographers who wanted the perfect shot, journalists who wanted quotes for their columns. But something made her say yes. Maybe it was Rosa's dying words echoing in her mind. Maybe it was the photo of that lonely little boy, standing apart from everyone else. Maybe it was the part of her that needed to see with her own eyes what had become of the man who had once destroyed her. Whatever the reason, on a crisp October evening, Vivian Marquez walked into the Whitney Museum wearing one of her own designs, a deep burgundy gown that made her look like she had been poured into elegance. At 35, she was more striking than she had been at 27. The years of struggle and triumph had carved character into her features, strength into her posture, confidence into every step she took. She moved through the crowd accepting compliments and making small talk, but her eyes were scanning the room, looking for him. She found Dominic near the back, talking to a man who looked like a potential investor. He was thinner than she remembered. His hair was fully silver now, not just at the temples. The lines on his face spoke of stress and sleepless nights and years of consequences catching up with him. But it was the boy beside him that made Vivian's breath catch. Julian Ashford was small for 7, dark hair like his father, ice blue eyes that must have come from his mother. He wore a suit that did not quite fit properly, like someone had grabbed the wrong size and not bothered to have it tailored. He was not participating in his father's conversation. He was just standing there, existing, his eyes drifting around the room with the kind of resigned boredom that children develop when they have learned that adults are not interested in what they have to say. Vivian watched him for a long moment. Then she began making her way across the room. Dominic saw her before she reached him. His face went through several transformations in rapid succession. Shock, fear, something that might have been shame, and then a careful blankness designed to hide whatever he was really feeling. Vivian. The way he said her name was different now. Not the dismissive tone of the man who had called her defective. Not the arrogant confidence of the CEO who had thought he could do whatever he wanted without consequences. This was the voice of a man who had lost everything and knew it. Dominic. It has been a long time. 8 years. Has it been that long? She knew exactly how long it had been. But she was not going to give him the satisfaction of knowing that she had counted. The investor Dominic had been talking to sensed the tension and excused himself with a mumbled excuse about finding his wife, leaving them alone, almost alone. Who is this young man? Vivian looked down at Julian, who was watching her with those wary blue eyes. This is Julian, my nephew. The lie came automatically. Dominic probably did not even think about it anymore. It had been repeated so many times that it had become his truth. But Vivian knew better. Hello, Julian. I am Vivian. I knew your father a long time ago. The boy studied her with an intensity that seemed beyond his years. You are the fashion lady. I saw your picture in a magazine once. That is right. I design clothes. My dad said you used to be married to him. Before I was born. Vivian's eyes flicked to Dominic, who looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him whole. Your father told you about me? He said you were smart and pretty, but things did not work out. He did not say why. Sometimes things just do not work out, Vivian said carefully. It does not mean anyone did anything wrong. But she could see in Julian's eyes that he did not believe her. This was a child who had learned to recognize when adults were not telling the whole truth. Dad knows a lot of people. Julian shifted his weight from foot to foot. Most of them are not very nice to him anymore. The honesty of the statement was startling and heartbreaking. Well, I try to be nice to everyone. Would you like to see some of the art? There are some really interesting sculptures on the second floor. Julian's face lit up with something that might have been hope. Then he looked at his father, and the light dimmed. I should probably stay here. Dad needs me to. He trailed off, not sure what his father needed him to do. Because the truth was, Dominic did not need him to do anything. Julian was just there, taking up space, waiting to be told what to do next. Julian, why do you not go find some of those appetizers you wanted earlier? Dominic's voice was strained. The lady and I need to talk. I do not want appetizers. I want to go home. We are not going home yet. Go. Father and son stared at each other. Julian's expression shifted from resignation to resentment before he turned and walked away without another word. Vivian watched him go, her heart aching for this child who had done nothing wrong but existed in the wrong circumstances. He is angry, she observed. He is 7. They are all angry at 7. No. He is angry because his mother is dead, his father is struggling, and no one has explained to him why his world feels wrong. He is angry because he knows something is broken and nobody will tell him what. Dominic's jaw tightened. You do not get to psychoanalyze my son. You do not get to swoop in here and pretend you understand our life. I am not pretending anything. I am observing. There is a difference. Why are you here, Vivian? What do you want? The question hung between them like a challenge. Vivian could have said many things. She could have confronted him about the lies, about Natasha, about the secret pregnancy and the fabricated nephew story. She could have thrown Rosa's confession in his face and watched him squirm, but she found herself saying something else entirely. Rosa Delgado died 2 weeks ago. Dominic's face went pale. Rosa, the housekeeper, your housekeeper, the one you paid to keep your secrets. She had cancer. Pancreatic. She called me before she died. The color drained from his face completely now. What did she tell you? Everything. The affair. The pregnancy. Miami. The clinic. The nephew story that was never true. All of it. Dominic looked around the crowded museum, suddenly aware that they were having this conversation in public. We should not discuss this here. You are right. We should not. Vivian turned and began walking toward a quieter area of the museum, a back stairwell away from the gala's noise and curious eyes. Dominic followed. They found a corner near an emergency exit. Dim lighting. No witnesses. Before Dominic could speak, Vivian held up her hand. I am not here for revenge. I am not here to expose you or destroy what little you have left. I did that 8 years ago. There is nothing left to destroy. Then, why are you here? Because Rosa asked me something before she died, and I have not been able to stop thinking about it. What did she ask? She asked me not to let your son become a casualty of your failures. Dominic was silent for a long moment. Then he leaned against the wall and looked at her with eyes that held more exhaustion than she had ever seen in another human being. I do not know what you want me to say. I do not want you to say anything. I want you to listen. Fine. I am listening. Vivian took a breath, organized her thoughts, and spoke the words she had been carrying since Rosa's funeral. You destroyed me, Dominic. You called me barren and defective. You made me feel like my only value was what my body could produce. And while you were doing all of that, you were already creating a child with someone else. The hypocrisy of it still makes me physically ill. I know, but that is not why I am here tonight. I am here because I watched your son across that room for 10 minutes before I approached, and what I saw broke my heart. He is fine. He has everything he needs. He has everything money can buy. He has nothing that actually matters. Dominic's eyes flashed with something. Defensiveness. Shame. Maybe both. You do not know anything about our life. I know loneliness when I see it. I know what it looks like when a child has stopped expecting anyone to really see them. I spent 3 years feeling invisible in my own marriage, so I recognized the signs. The words hit their mark. Dominic flinched. What do you want from me? I want to understand something first. Rosa said you have been raising him alone since Natasha died, that you claimed him as your nephew to protect your reputation. Is that true? Yes. Why keep the lie going? Your reputation was already destroyed by the time she died. What was the point? Pride. Dominic's voice was bitter. The same pride that made me think I could control everything, that I could have a secret family and a public image and somehow keep them both intact. I could not admit that the nephew story was a lie because then I would have to admit that everything else was a lie too. And now I do not know how to undo it. Julian has grown up believing a certain story about himself, that his mother was some woman his uncle had a brief relationship with, that I took him in out of family obligation. How do I tell him the truth now? That his father is a liar, that his entire identity is built on deception? Vivian studied this man who had once been her everything. He looked broken, genuinely broken, not the polished cruelty of the Dominic who had called her defective, but something raw, more human. She did not forgive him. She was not sure she ever would, but she found herself feeling something unexpected. Pity. I am not proud of what I did to you. The words came out of Dominic like a confession, like something he had been holding inside for years. I was a different person then, a worse person. I was obsessed with legacy and family expectations and what my father would think, and I convinced myself that you were the problem because it was easier than admitting that I was the one who was broken. You were not broken. You were cruel. Yes, I was cruel, and I have paid for it every day since. Have you? The question hung in the air. Dominic laughed, a hollow sound without humor. My father died ashamed of me. My brother will not speak to me. Every friend I thought I had disappeared the moment I could not give them access to power and money. Patricia left before we ever made it to the altar. And Natasha. He stopped. His voice caught. Natasha died thinking I was going to marry her, thinking we were going to be a real family. And the truth is, I do not know if I would have. I do not know if I was capable of actually loving anyone back then. And now I have a son who looks at me like I am a stranger, who asks questions I do not know how to answer, who deserves so much better than what I have been able to give him. Vivian was quiet for a long moment, processing everything he had said. Why are you telling me all of this? Because you asked, and because I am tired of lying. I have lied to everyone for so long that I forgot what the truth even felt like. But you, he looked at her with something that might have been wonder. You are the one person I cannot lie to anymore. You know everything. Rosa told you everything. So what is the point of pretending? The point is that your son is out there somewhere in that museum probably, standing alone at an appetizer table, wondering why his father sent him away. The point is that whatever happened between us, he is innocent. I know he is innocent. Then act like it. Be present for him. Stop treating him like an inconvenience and start treating him like he matters. I do not know how. The admission was raw, vulnerable, nothing like the arrogant CEO who had once dismissed her with a wave of his hand. Vivian realized in that moment that Dominic Ashford had not just lost his empire. He had lost himself. He was a man drowning in the wreckage of his own choices, and he had no idea how to swim. And standing on the shore watching him drown was his 7-year-old son. I have an idea, Vivian heard herself say. But I need you to understand something first. What? I am not doing this for you. I am not forgiving you. I am not letting go of what you did to me. If I help at all, it is for Julian. Only for Julian. I understand. And if you ever hurt him the way you hurt me, if you ever make him feel like he is not enough or that his value depends on what he can give you, I will make sure you regret it for the rest of your life. Dominic nodded slowly. Fair enough. Vivian took a deep breath. She could not believe what she was about to do. After everything this man had put her through, she was about to offer him something she had no obligation to give. But Rosa's words kept echoing in her mind. Do not let that boy become a casualty. I run an art therapy program through my foundation for children from complicated family situations, divorce, loss, trauma. We help them process their emotions through creative expression. Okay, I think Julian could benefit from it. And I think being around other children who understand what it feels like to have a broken family might help him feel less alone. You would do that? After everything, I would do that for him, not for you. There is a difference. Dominic stared at her for a long moment. Why? Why would you help the child I created by betraying you? Because he did not betray me. He is just a little boy who got caught in the crossfire of adult failures. And I know what it feels like to be caught in crossfire like that. Vivian thought of her own triplets, Lily, James, and Noah. The children Dominic did not know existed. The children she had raised alone while building an empire. She was not ready to tell him about them. Maybe she never would be. That was a decision for another day. But she could help his son, this lonely little boy who deserved better than what life had given him so far. There is one condition. Name it. You have to actually try. You have to show up. Be present. Not just drop him off and disappear while the professionals handle everything. He needs a father, Dominic. A real one. Not just a man who pays the bills. I can try. Trying is not enough. You have to actually do it. Then, I will do it. Vivian searched his face for any sign of the arrogance and manipulation she remembered from 8 years ago. She did not find it. What she found instead was desperation, fear, and something that looked almost like hope. Start by going back out there and finding your son. Take him to look at the sculptures on the second floor. Ask him what he thinks about them, and actually listen when he answers. That is it. That is where it starts. The rest comes later. Dominic nodded. He looked like a man who had been given a lifeline he did not deserve. Thank you. Do not thank me yet. Thank me if it works. She watched him walk back toward the gala. Watched him find Julian at the appetizer table, just as she had predicted. Watched him kneel down to his son's level and say something that made the boy look up with surprise. A few minutes later, they walked toward the stairs together, father and son. Still distant, still awkward, but trying. It was a start. The art therapy sessions began 3 weeks later. Vivian's program was housed in a converted studio space in her design building. Bright walls, natural light, tables covered with art supplies. A place designed to make children feel safe enough to express the things they could not put into words. Julian arrived for his first session clutching his father's hand with a grip that spoke of anxiety. He did not want to be there. That much was obvious. But when he saw the other children, when he realized he was not the only one with a complicated story, something in his posture shifted slightly. He still did not speak much during that first session. Just sat at a table with clay and sculpted something abstract that his therapist later told Vivian represented his mother. But he came back the next week, and the week after that. Slowly, session by session, the walls around Julian began to come down. He discovered he had a gift for sculpture. His pieces were raw and emotional, full of shapes that twisted and reached, and sometimes broke apart in ways that made the adults watching want to cry. He started talking to the other children, sharing snacks, laughing at jokes, and his father kept showing up. That was the part that surprised Vivienne the most. Dominic attended every session, not just dropping Julian off and disappearing, but actually staying, sitting in the parent observation area, watching his son work. Sometimes Julian would look up from his project and see his father watching, and something would pass between them. Something small but significant. Recognition. Connection. The beginning of a bond that should have started years ago. It was not easy. There were setbacks. Days when Julian was angry and refused to participate. Days when Dominic fell back into his old patterns of emotional distance. But they kept trying, and Vivienne kept watching. 6 months after that gala encounter, Julian created a sculpture that made everyone in the room stop and stare. It was a family, 3 figures standing together. But unlike his earlier work, which had been abstract and fragmented, this one was whole, complete. A father, a child, and a woman. My therapist asked who the third person was. Julian told Vivienne after the session. She thought it was my mom. Was it? No. Then, who was it? You. Vivienne felt her heart stop. Me? You are like a friend, but also kind of more. Dad says you are someone who helps us remember to be better. That night, after the children had gone home and the studio was quiet, Dominic found Vivienne in her office. He looked different than he had 6 months ago. Less haggard, more present, like something inside him had finally started to heal. I need to tell you something. What? I am sorry. You have said that before. I know, but I am saying it differently now. I am saying it with 6 months of actually trying to be a better person behind me instead of just words. He sat down across from her. I have spent the last 6 months watching you with my son, watching how patient you are, how you see him without judgment, how you create spaces where he can be himself without fear. That is just good therapy practice. No, it is more than that. It is who you are. It is who you have always been. And I was too stupid and selfish and obsessed with my own expectations to see it when we were married. Vivienne was quiet. Watching you these past months has taught me more about grace than I learned in my entire lifetime of privilege. You had every right to turn me away at that gala, every right to let my son drown in the mess I created. But you did not. I told you. I did it for Julian, not for you. I know. And that is what makes it even more remarkable. You helped him despite me, despite everything I did to hurt you. Dominic leaned forward. I have spent 8 years wondering what my life would have looked like if I had been a better man, if I had seen your value instead of your limitations, if I had loved you the way you deserved to be loved. And what did you conclude? That I would have had everything that actually matters, and I threw it away because I was too blind to see what was right in front of me. Vivienne studied the man sitting across from her. He was not the same person who had called her defective. She could see that now. The arrogance was gone. The cruelty was gone. What remained was someone who had been broken by his own choices and was slowly, painfully, putting himself back together. I spent a long time being angry at you, she said finally. Letting that anger fuel me, drive me. It helped me build my company. It helped me prove that I was worth more than you ever gave me credit for. And now I am tired of carrying it. Anger is expensive, Dominic. It costs more than it gives back. Does that mean you forgive me? Vivienne considered the question carefully. I do not know if I can ever fully forgive what you did. The woman you hurt, the one who cried herself to sleep for months after you left, she is still part of me. That wound does not fully heal. I understand, but I can release it. I can stop letting our past poison my present. I can look at you and see the person you are trying to become instead of only the person you used to be. That is more than I deserve. Yes, it is. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Dominic asked a question that changed everything. What about the children? What children? Julian has asked about you, about who you are to him, what you are to our family. He wants to know if you are going to keep being part of his life. Vivienne's heart clenched. She thought about her own triplets, Lily, James, and Noah, 8 years old now. Growing up without knowing their father existed, she had kept them secret for so long, protecting them, protecting herself. But looking at Dominic now, seeing the genuine change in him, she wondered if the secret was still serving its purpose. "There is something I need to tell you," she heard herself say. "Something I should have told you a long time ago." "What?" "When we divorced, I found out I was pregnant. 3 weeks after the papers were finalized. I was carrying triplets." "Your triplets?" The color drained from Dominic's face. "What?" "Lily, James, and Noah. They are 8 years old. They are brilliant and kind and everything I could have hoped for in children. I have children? You have 3 children you have never met. Children I raised alone while you were building a life with Natasha and Julian." Dominic looked like someone had just knocked the wind out of him. "Why did you never tell me?" "Because you divorced me for being barren. Because you called me defective. Because you threw me away and replaced me with someone younger and more fertile. I found out I was pregnant with triplets while you were announcing your engagement to someone else." The irony was not lost on Dominic. She could see it hitting him like a physical blow. "All those years, all those treatments, all those times I blamed you, and I got pregnant naturally. Right at the end, right when you had already given up on me." The silence between them was heavy with the weight of 8 years of secrets. "Can I meet them?" The question was barely a whisper. "I do not know. That is not a decision I can make right now. I understand. They need to come first. Their safety, their emotional well-being. I will not disrupt their lives for your peace of mind. I would never ask you to." Vivian stood up and walked to the window. The city lights sparkled below, millions of lives unfolding in the darkness. "There is something else you should know." "What?" "They look like you. All 3 of them. Lily has your eyes. James has your analytical mind. Noah has your smile. Every time I look at them, I see pieces of you." She turned back to face him. "I have spent 8 years trying to hate you for what you did. And every day, I was reminded of you by the 3 people I love most in the world. It is a strange kind of torture, raising children who look like the man who broke your heart." Dominic's eyes were wet. "I am sorry. I am so sorry for everything. I know you are. And I believe you mean it now in a way you did not mean it before. What happens next? I do not know. We figure it out one day at a time. We focus on the children. All 4 of them. We do what is best for them, even when it is hard for us. And us? Is there any future for us?" Vivian was quiet for a long moment. "There is no going back to what we were. That relationship is dead. You killed it when you walked away from me for someone else. I know. But maybe there is something new. Something different. Not romance. Not the fairy tale we thought we were living. Something more practical. More honest. Like what? Like 2 people who made terrible mistakes learning to build something meaningful from the wreckage. Like CO parents. Like partners in raising children who deserve better than either of us gave them. I would take that. I would take anything you are willing to give." Then that is where we start. 1 year later, a magazine profile called it the most unlikely family in fashion. The article featured photos of Vivian with Julian at an art show, Dominic helping with a charity event at her design studio, the 4 of them together at various functions, looking like something no one had expected but everyone found strangely beautiful. The triplets had been introduced gradually, carefully, with the help of therapists and counselors and a lot of difficult conversations. Lily had been suspicious at first. She had inherited her mother's sharp intuition and could smell insincerity from a mile away. But Dominic had won her over slowly, attending her art shows and asking genuine questions about her work. James had approached the situation analytically. He had questions about business and logistics and what exactly this relationship meant for everyone involved. Dominic had answered them all with patience and honesty. Noah had been the easiest. His gentle nature and capacity for empathy had allowed him to accept his father's presence without much resistance. He seemed to understand, even at 8 years old, that people could change and that forgiveness was possible. Julian had gained siblings, not just any siblings, but triplets who understood what it felt like to grow up with complicated family dynamics. The 4 children had bonded quickly, forming their own little unit within the larger family structure. "Are you happy?" The interviewer had asked Vivian this question near the end of their conversation. Vivian had thought about it carefully before answering. "I am at peace," which is different from happy, but maybe more important. "I spent years being angry and hurt and determined to prove everyone wrong. And I succeeded. But success without peace is just another kind of prison. And now I wake up every morning grateful for what I have. 4 incredible children, a career I love, A family that looks nothing like what I expected, but feels more real than anything I imagined. What about Dominic? What about him? Are you in love with him again? Vivian had laughed. We are not a romance story. We are a redemption story. That is different. What we have now is not about falling in love again. It is about showing up every day and choosing to be better than we were before. The interview had ended there, but the question lingered in Vivian's mind. Was she in love with Dominic again? The honest answer was complicated. She loved who he was becoming. She loved watching him be a present father to all 4 children. She loved the vulnerability he showed now, the willingness to admit when he was wrong, the genuine effort he put into being a better man. But she also remembered who he had been, the cruelty, the betrayal, the way he had made her feel like she was worth less than the function she could not perform. That memory did not go away. It had just learned to coexist with a new reality. Some wounds heal completely. Others become scars that you learn to live with, and still others transform into something different entirely. Not quite healed, not quite open, just integrated into who you are in ways that make you stronger and wiser. Vivian's wound had become that last kind. It was part of her now, part of her strength, part of the story she told when she mentored young designers or spoke at conferences about resilience and reinvention. I was thrown away, she would say, called defective, told I was not enough. And I used that pain to build something extraordinary, not because I had something to prove, but because I refused to let someone else's opinion define my worth. The audience has always resonated with that message, because everyone has been underestimated at some point. Everyone has been told they cannot do something or be something or become something, and everyone needs to hear that those voices are wrong. On the 1-year anniversary of that gala encounter, Vivian and Dominic sat on the rooftop of her design building, watching the city lights sparkle below. The children were at home with carefully selected caregivers. The adults had carved out a rare moment of peace. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if we had not run into each other that night? Dominic asked the question quietly, like he was almost afraid to voice it. Sometimes, but I do not dwell on it. What if questions do not change anything? They just make you miserable about roads not taken. I would probably still be drowning. Julian would probably still be lonely, and I would never have known about the triplets, and I would still be carrying all that anger, letting it eat away at me from the inside. So we saved each other, in a way. Vivian considered this. Maybe. Or maybe we just gave each other the opportunity to save ourselves. You could have walked away from the work, stopped showing up for the therapy sessions, gone back to your old patterns. But you did not. You could have left me to drown, refused to help Julian, kept the triplets secret forever. But you did not either, because Rosa asked me not to. Is that really why? Vivian was quiet for a moment. Partly, but also because I was tired of letting you have power over my emotions. Every time I thought about you, I felt angry. And anger is exhausting. I wanted to be free of it. Helping Julian was partly for him and partly for me. A way to prove that your mistakes did not have to define either of our futures. And now I look at our children, all 4 of them, and I see something that should not exist. A family built from betrayal and lies and second chances. And somehow it works. Somehow we have created something beautiful from something terrible. Dominic reached out and took her hand. She let him. I will spend the rest of my life trying to deserve this. Trying to deserve them. Trying to deserve you. I know you will. And that is why I am willing to keep trying too. They sat in silence, hands intertwined, watching the city breathe and glow beneath them. It was not a fairy tale ending, but it was something better. It was real. If this story touched your heart, I want you to do something for me right now. Hit that subscribe button and join our community. We tell stories about resilience and redemption and the power of second chances. Stories that remind you that your worth is not determined by anyone else's opinion. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that they are not defined by their worst moments, that they can rise above, that the people who underestimate them will always end up regretting it. And drop a comment below. Tell me what lesson resonated with you most. Was it the power of rising above? The importance of grace even when it is hard? The truth that chosen family can be just as powerful as blood? I read every single comment. Your stories inspire me every day. Here is what I want you to take away from this story. Your value is not determined by what you can produce or provide. You are worth more than your utility, more than your function, more than what someone else needs from you. The people who throw you away will always regret it. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually, because you were never the problem. Their inability to see your worth was the problem. Anger is a useful fuel, but it is expensive. It will help you build, but it will also burn you out if you carry it too long. Learn when to put it down. Forgiveness is not about letting someone off the hook. It is about freeing yourself from the weight of carrying their sins. You can forgive and still maintain boundaries. You can forgive and still protect yourself. And finally, the greatest revenge is not destruction. It is transformation, becoming so successful, so whole, so at peace that the opinions of those who hurt you become completely irrelevant. Vivian Marquez did not win because she destroyed Dominic Ashford. She won because she built a life so full of purpose and meaning that his betrayal became just a chapter in a much longer story. She won because she refused to let his cruelty define her worth. She won because she chose grace when vengeance would have been easier. And in the end, she gained something she never expected: a family, a partnership, a peace that went deeper than any revenge ever could. That is the real victory. Not in making someone else suffer for what they did to you, but in becoming so complete that their suffering or success no longer has power over your joy. This is Mr. Brad, and I will see you in the next story. Remember, the people who doubt you are always the ones who end up regretting it. Always.